After France detains a British trawler, the UK summons the French ambassador in a growing row over post-Brexit fishing rights. The French are angry that some of their boats have been refused licences to fish in UK waters, and they've threatened to block British vessels from their ports. After months of growing criticism about its business practices, Facebook unveils a new name, Meta. The company said it would better encompass what it does. President Biden says his Democratic Party has reached an historic agreement on economic reforms. The plan would see an investment of $2 trillion in health, social care and efforts to combat climate change. With 2 days to go before a summit on climate change, top oil executives have faced a grilling in the US Congress over whether their industry misled the public on the subject of climate change.
In Sudan, security forces have reopened some bridges and streets in Khartoum after the military takeover of the government Monday resulted in protests. The Associated Press says Myanmar's military has used a system of torture against people detained at protests against the military overthrow of the government in February. In Britain, supporters of Julian Assange gather at a hearing on whether to send the Australian citizen to the U.S. for trial on spying charges. And the United Nations Children's Agency says schools in Uganda remain closed because of COVID-19 concerns.
We start with Taiwan. The president has confirmed that American troops have been deployed there to train its military. She made the comments during a TV interview with U.S. media. The CNN interview with President Tsai Ing-wen was aired on Thursday. It comes as China ramps up military pressure over Taiwan. During the interview, she was asked if the U.S. support for Taiwan includes training for Taiwanese troops. Tsai replied, quote, "We have a wide range of cooperation with the U.S. aiming at increasing our defense capability," unquote. She stopped short of giving the exact number of U.S. military personnel in Taiwan, but said it's not as many as people thought. The CNN report said Tsai is the first Taiwanese president in decades to acknowledge the presence of U.S. troops for training purposes. The last U.S. troops left Taiwan in 1979, when Washington cut formal diplomatic ties with Taipei in order to recognize Beijing. CNN asked Tsai if she has faith that the U.S. would defend Taiwan if China were to try to attack. She responded, "I do have faith." Tsai's remarks drew a sharp reaction from a spokesperson at China's foreign ministry. He said China strongly opposes any U.S. interference in its domestic affairs and any formal exchanges or military cooperation between the U.S. and Taiwan. The top U.S. military officer has expressed strong concern about China's test of a suspected hypersonic weapon, calling it a very significant event. The Financial Times reported that China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in August. The article said the missile circled the globe before cruising toward its target on the ground. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, told reporters the test was very concerning. Milley drew a comparison with the former Soviet Union's 1957 announcement that it had launched the world's first satellite, Sputnik. China claims it tested a space vehicle, not a missile. A hypersonic missile travels at about 5 times the speed of sound with the ability to maneuver in flight. It's believed to be harder to intercept than other types of missiles. The U.S. Defense Department said it tested its own hypersonic weapon prototypes last week. India on Wednesday test-fired a nuclear-capable long-range ballistic missile from a coastal island in the Bay of Bengal. Officials say the test was successful. The 3-stage Agni-5 missile uses a solid fuel engine and is capable of reaching targets up to 5,000 kilometers away with high accuracy. India's defense ministry said in a statement that the successful test is in line with the country's stated policy of having credible minimum deterrence that underpins its commitment to no first use. The missile was last tested in 2018. The test comes amid India's ongoing standoff with China in the northern Ladakh region and is seen as a strong message to China. Experts say the test adds teeth to India's deterrence posture. India and the ASEAN nations have agreed to strengthen cooperation for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the leaders of the ASEAN member nations held an online summit on Thursday.
ASEAN's unity and centrality has always been an important priority for India.
Modi is pushing for greater cooperation with Southeast Asia under his Act East policy. Officials of India's Ministry of External Affairs say Modi agreed with the ASEAN leaders to step up practical cooperation to ensure peace and prosperity in the region. India is part of the so-called Quad Alliance with Japan, the United States, and Australia. Modi's words indicate that India also places importance on cooperation with ASEAN, apparently with China's increasing maritime activities in the region in mind. The U.S. State Department says it's issued the first American passport with the gender shown as X. The X was created to give non-binary, intersex, and gender non-conforming people a marker other than male or female. The State Department says it plans to offer this option to all routine passport applicants once it completes the required system and form updates early next year. The holder of the first X-gender U.S. passport is a Colorado resident. Dana Zim sued the government to get a passport that does not force them to identify as male or female.
It's an exciting moment for me now. I get to go places and say, yes, this is who I am.
The State Department says it continues to work closely with other U.S. government agencies to ensure a smooth travel experience for all passport holders, regardless of their gender identity. Israel plans to build thousands more settler homes in the occupied West Bank in violation of international law. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration has expressed strong opposition. On Wednesday, the Israeli government approved plans to add more than 3,000 homes. The expansion would be the first since Naftali Bennett took office as prime minister in June. At a summit 2 months ago, President Biden told Prime Minister Bennett he was ready to help advance peace and prosperity for Israelis and Palestinians. Bennett did not touch on those issues. Before Israel announced its plans for more settler homes, the U.S. State Department expressed concern.
We strongly oppose the expansion of settlements, which is completely inconsistent with efforts to lower tensions and to ensure calm, and it damages the prospects for a two-state solution.
The Palestinian Authority echoed the U.S. stance. It said Israel's decision amounts to a message of disdain for U.S. efforts to stop settlement expansion. U.S. tech giant Facebook is reportedly facing increased scrutiny. Media say the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has launched a probe into its data security.
And the question is, what is Facebook doing to amplify or expand hate? What is it doing to amplify or expand ethnic violence?
The investigation began after a former employee came forward. She released thousands of pages of internal documents to Congress. They reportedly reveal that Facebook failed to take sufficient action in the run-up to the January attack on the U.S. Capitol. Facebook is said to have seen an increase in violence-related posts. The leaked papers also show Facebook's own in-house research found Instagram was harming some young people's mental health. Facebook owns Instagram. It still went ahead with developing an app called Instagram Kids targeting children under 13. Work on the app is now suspended. U.S. politicians have pointed fingers at Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg ought to be looking at himself in the mirror today. And yet, rather than taking responsibility and showing leadership, Mr. Zuckerberg is going sailing.
Zuckerberg is hitting back.
My view is that what we are seeing is a coordinated effort to selectively use leaked documents to paint a false picture of our company.
Facebook told U.S. media that it's always ready to answer questions from regulatory authorities. The company said it'll continue to cooperate with the government's investigation. Now to the coronavirus situation here in Japan, where the number of new cases continues to drop. The government plans to ease limits on attendance at large events from November 1st. Areas including Tokyo and Osaka now cap attendance at 10,000, including sports venues. This limit has applied to the 27 prefectures which had been under a state of emergency or quasi-emergency restrictions until the end of last month. Organizers across the country will be allowed to fill their venues to half capacity from next month. Meanwhile, over 70% of Japan's population has been fully vaccinated. Members of an expert panel agreed on Thursday that a third booster shot should be available to all people who received the initial 2 vaccine doses. The health authority will finalize its policy as early as next month. Japan is expected to begin offering boosters by the end of this year, starting with medical workers. Officials confirmed over 270 new infections and 9 deaths across Japan on Thursday. The capital reported 21 new cases. Its daily tally has been below 50 for 12 straight days. A powerful tropical system is continuously affecting southern Japan's Ogasawara Islands. Our meteorologist Sakamori has a look at the situation in world weather.
Hello there. Melo is hitting the Ogasawara Islands as a typhoon. It's the 6th typhoon of the year and the 20th named storm for the Pacific typhoon season. The system will likely move away from the Ogasawara Islands on Friday, but waves will likely continue there. Temperature-wise, 19 in Tokyo with sunny weather on Friday, and there's a chance for rain in Sapporo with a high of 13 degrees. Meanwhile, there were about 10 reports of tornadoes hitting the southeastern United States on Wednesday, and there's a chance for more severe weather, especially from Texas, Florida into the Carolina coast on your Thursday. Strong winds and heavy rainfall caused some damage across the northeastern United States because of a nor'easter. It looks like windy conditions will likely continue across eastern places of Canada. And this is your Halloween forecast. Deadman Crossing, Ohio could see rainy weather into Saturday. It'll be sunny in Death Valley, California and scary West Virginia on Sunday, but it's going to be a wet Halloween for Erie, Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, a hailstorm hit Adelaide on Thursday. Take a look at this video. Severe thunderstorms plowed through Adelaide and parts of South Australia Thursday morning. Hail as big as golf and ping-pong balls fell, and local media reported that more than 6,000 homes were without power. Schools had to be closed because of the severe weather that was accompanied by powerful winds. The storm maker will likely move into the southeastern United States, southeastern Australia, including New South Wales, Tasmania, as well as Victoria. These areas will likely see more severe thunderstorms, including heavy rainfall. Temperatures are going to be on the hot side in Sydney with a high of 33 on your last day of the business week. That's it for me. Stay safe.